He was a bright student with a promising future.
He was so smart. He'd get all his work done before anybody in the class.
Then, a sudden change in his daily routine.
He missed class.
Does that sound like your brother?
No.
A reliable son goes missing. A relentless mom goes looking.
I gotta do something. I gotta go look for him.
Every second counts. But as you'll see, it would take more than a day before anyone realized a search was needed.
Hey everybody, my name is Jelani Day.
25-year-old Jelani Day was the fourth of Carmen Day's 5 children raised in Danville, Illinois. 2 girls and 3 boys.
In my house, my kids took great pride into their grades. They wanted to see who GPA could be higher than the next one.
The kids were close and competitive. His older brothers, Seve and DeAndre, admired Jelani and were proud of him.
He was very athletic, very smart, had goals.
Had countless friends in different programs and organizations he was a part of that he made a difference in.
Jelani was an A student at Alabama A&M. He was even chosen to say the prayer at graduation.
May we feel a sense of achievement in our qualification and great excitement about our future.
I was like, look at my baby. Look at my baby.
Jelani Jesse Javante Day.
I'm very proud of him.
In August 2021, Jelani was getting his master's degree in the competitive field of speech pathology at Illinois State University in downstate Normal.
Why speech pathology?
He wanted to help others who didn't have a voice for themselves to be able to speak. He had a friend growing up, his name is Paul, and Paul had a speech impediment. He used to get teased a lot.
Jelani got a very early start on the morning of Tuesday, August 24th. He logged into a school computer on campus at 6:20 a.m. Then, an hour later at 7:20, got coffee at this Starbucks at the ISU Student Union. That is him on security video, dressed up in black pants and a blue shirt. Take note of his outfit. Carmen says he seemed excited about a clinical session with a patient later that afternoon and called her repeatedly the day before.
He was going to go through his homework, and he said, okay, Mom, I don't want nothing. I just wanted to hear your voice. And I said, okay, babe, I'll talk to you in the morning.
Jelani did not call his mom the next day. She assumed he was busy at school. In the week since then, Carmen has carefully watched the college security video from that morning.
I see him going in a building where he's approached by 2 people. It looks like he talks to them and they all go into the building.
The building is Fairchild Hall, which houses the speech pathology and audiology department. Carmen says the tape shows him walking out a few minutes later.
I see him sit down on a bench, and I see him looking at his phone.
Like he's reading a text or like he's looking at video or what?
It was texting.
Then Carmen says he walked back across campus and there's video of his car leaving. His mother says he must have driven to his apartment off campus. She later retraced his steps.
When I went there, it was typical Jelani. He'd take his clothes off and leave them in the floor.
About 2 hours later, around 9:12 a.m., Jelani was caught on camera again in different clothes, this time wearing shorts and a Jimi Hendrix t-shirt. He was walking into the Beyond Hello marijuana dispensary, 10 minutes from campus in Bloomington. His mother says he bought one joint and left.
But Jelani did not go back to campus for his class at 1 o'clock that afternoon, and crucial time would pass before anyone realized something was wrong. 24 hours later, when he missed class for a second day, his professor was now concerned enough to alert the school for a wellness check.
What happened to my brother?
His brother DeAndre, a middle school teacher, was the first relative to get the news.
Police came knocking on my door saying, we were looking for your brother. So I called my mom and my sister, have you heard from him? They said no.
Immediately, Carmen knew something was terribly wrong and says she tried to convince police to go all in, even though she says they told her adults missing a short time only trigger a full search if they're in danger of hurting themselves or others.
Did you tell the police that he was in danger of hurting himself or others?
I said, but at this point, I don't know. So I'm telling you, if that's what you need me to say to you, I will say anything. And he said, well, I'll get back with you.
Police tell us under state law, all missing persons cases are taken seriously right away. So when Carmen reported Jelani missing at 8:57 that night, they say they went to work, calling hospitals, friends, and relatives.
As the investigation began, detectives focused on that security video and started looking for more pictures from stores, homes, and gas stations.
Every investigation in 2021 is ultra reliant on video cameras and electronic data.
The story of the missing college student would eventually go viral after a rallying cry on social media called out the national media's attention on the Gabby Petito case, noting the racial disparities in the coverage of people who go missing.
I'm glad that it's getting media attention. It helps us with our investigation.
Even with the coverage, the key question remained, where on earth did Jelani go? What caused him to leave this campus, change out of his dress clothes when he had such an important class that afternoon? Who was he talking to? Who was he possibly texting? What was said in any of the messages? His mother says this clearly goes far beyond the legal purchase of marijuana. Something changed, right?
Something changed.
What happened?
I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out.
Do you think the answer's on that phone?
I do. I believe that it is.
That day, Jelani was driving a car he was proud of and careful with, a 2010 white Chrysler 300 he got from his grandfather.
He put the car in the shop, got the car painted, got the car repaired, everything, and he paid for it all by himself.
On Thursday, 2 days after his disappearance, Carmen says she received an email when a story broke saying her son's car had been found an hour north in Peru, Illinois. She says a detective finally called.
I already heard about it, so I'm mad. I'm very upset. And he said, "Where did you hear about it from?" I was like, "It's in the newspaper. It's on the news."
Carmen scrambled to get to a wooded area near the town's YMCA where police had been searching the car.
To me, it's unusual the way his vehicle was. You know, it was off of a parking lot inside. It wasn't like deep into a woods, but it was off a parking lot. That's very unusual to just find a car like that.
Investigators recovered several items inside. Some of the clothes he was wearing at the dispensary, a partially smoked marijuana cigar blunt, and Jelani's journal. Was there a clue in what was written inside? Police won't say.
We collected a lot of evidence from the vehicle, and we were using a lot of that.
They say there's no blood. They say it doesn't look like anything was disturbed. They don't see any signs of foul play.
Does anything about this make sense?
Absolutely not. Nothing makes sense to me. There's nothing about the car being in the wooded area, the city of Peru. I never even heard of the city of Peru until we found the car.
Carmen says the car's license plate had been removed.
What does that tell you?
This is purposeful.
And soon there was more. Police conducted an extensive search nearby with dogs, drones, and teams on foot. They found Jelani's wallet a quarter-mile from the car in a residential area.
Any money in the wallet?
There was no money in the wallet.
Any of his credit cards or debit cards?
Nope.
And he had those things, right?
Yes, he did.
Did you check the debit card and the credit card? Was there any activity between the time he disappeared?
No, I'm not seeing any activity.
Nothing?
Nothing.
With no sign of life, the family was frightened and frustrated and tried to find Jelani on their own.
I put out this post on Facebook, and I asked anybody who could and will to meet me in Peru.
How many people showed up?
More people than I expected.
They organized a search near the area where the car was found. Volunteers came from as far away as Chicago. Even professional tracking dogs arrived with a handler.
They split us up into groups. There was a park across the street from this wooded area.
And they found several things, clothes and a gun clip. Carmen called police to process the evidence.
And he said to us, they collected that, what we found, but he doesn't think it had anything to do with Jelani. He thinks it was somebody, a homeless person.
Then on Saturday, September 4th, a week and a half after Jelani's disappearance, a partially clad, badly decomposed body was found floating face down under a tree that had fallen into the Illinois River in Peru, 3 miles from the car. Carmen raced to the scene, but says police told her she should not view the body.
Didn't even get to look at my baby. I didn't see him, and I wish I would have looked at him. I wish I would have.
The body had a double-knotted sweatshirt tied around the waist. Jelani's shorts and sneakers were on a riverbank and contained unidentified DNA, raising even more questions. Using dental records and the family's DNA, it would take an excruciating 19 days for authorities to finally make a positive ID of the body. It was Jelani. But the family was stunned by the official cause of death. it wasn't any type of wound or injury as they expected. The medical examiner said Jelani Day had drowned.
I will never forget that day. To hear my dad cry like that and to hear my mother in so much pain was horrific. It was really devastating, and to get that explanation that he drowned was a slap in the face. It was an insult to us.
But the coroner also wrote drowning is considered a diagnosis of exclusion when a body's found in water with no other obvious injury.
Did he know how to swim?
Absolutely. He swam in high school. He was an avid swimmer. He swam all the time, working out, always at the pool.
So how did he end up in the river? Is there any chance Jelani took his own life?
Jelani's never had any kind of any inclination that he wanted to harm himself.
Was he on any medication
He was
for mental
not
illness,
nothing,
depression?
Nothing.
How much did your son have to live for?
Everything to live for. He loved life. He loved his family.
In fact, she says Jelani had recently volunteered to be the donor for his father, who had leukemia and needed a stem cell transplant.
He was the most likely match for his dad.
And he wanted to do it.
He absolutely, yeah.
Sadly, Jelani's father passed away 7 months after he did.
Justice for Jelani! Justice for Jelani!
Carmen Day has accused the Bloomington police of dragging their feet when she first reported Jelani missing. And she says authorities took far too long to identify his body, and they and the media would have worked much harder and faster if her son wasn't black.
Bloomington dropped the ball from the beginning.
We won't argue with their emotions. If they feel like we're not doing enough, that's how they feel about it. We can provide some facts on what we're doing, but I'm not going to tell, their family, how they should feel.
The family is losing confidence in the local authorities. They want answers.
Civil rights attorney Ben Crump and Reverend Jesse Jackson are helping in her fight for answers.
Throughout this whole ordeal, I try not to be that angry black woman or try not to be in their face and telling them what they needed to do because I needed them to look for my child.
Bloomington police and the LaSalle County coroner both declined our request for an on-camera interview. In a written statement, Bloomington police told us they would not comment because the case is still an active investigation and the FBI is involved. To the family, it felt like everything was at a standstill.
Then, 6 weeks after the body was recovered, a significant clue was found through pure luck. A man was driving on the highway when he pulled off on one of the Bloomington exits to secure a mattress that was tied to the roof of his car. He just happened to look down at the side of the road and saw an iPhone. It was Jelani Day's. What do you want to know from that phone?
I want to know who's involved, who was he last texting in his last hours, who was his last conversation with.
Through the Freedom of Information Act, we obtained heavily redacted emails from the FBI to Peru police. One is called Extraction Report Apple iPhone, 23 chats and 17 messages. These details have been cross-referenced from Jelani's contact list. Another notes 6 phone numbers of interest. But a detective also writes nothing crazy on Jelani's phone extraction. The information they have is apparently from Verizon's call records, but they still have not figured out the password and gotten inside the phone to see what was written in the messages.
Has anyone come forward to say, yeah, I was talking with Jelani that day on the phone?
Nobody came forward. It's people that I found out that he went to go see that day at the medical facility on campus. They didn't even come forward and say, yeah, I remember talking to him that day.
Police sources close to the investigation tell us his phone was turned off at 9:21 a.m. while Jelani was believed to be in the parking lot leaving the marijuana dispensary. Video shows him driving away. His iPhone was later tossed from his car onto that roadside on I-55 North, south of mile marker 158. The question is, did Jelani do that, or did someone else?
Do you think there are people out there with information?
Absolutely. I think people are withholding information for some whatever reason, but I don't care.
The Day family has lost a brother, a son, and now a father, but say their will to find justice for Jelani will never wane.
And I'm trusting God that everything I'm doing to find out what happened to him will not be in vain. This is not going to be an unsolved mystery.
Jelani Day's mother still can't believe that her son is never coming home. I recently joined her on a key stop on her quest for answers, Peru, Illinois, the place where her son's body was found.
Even though it's been a year, it feels like this stuff just happened.
On the outside, Carmen Bolden Day appears to be strong and unrelenting. But deep down, Jelani Day's mother tells me her heart breaks daily because she still doesn't know what happened to her son.
What hurts the most for you in this moment right now?
That I gotta sit here with you and talk about my baby. He's supposed to be here.
Jelani was a graduate student studying speech pathology at Illinois State University. He was last seen on campus on August 24, 2021. The following morning, his mother says he didn't answer her calls.
If I text him, Jelani would text me back, let me know, Mom, I'm gonna call you right back, or he would call me, but I didn't get a text back.
This image from surveillance video is the last sighting of Jelani, waiting in line at a marijuana dispensary in Bloomington. Days later, police found his car in this wooded area in Peru, Illinois, about 60 miles north of campus. Day's body was found in the Illinois River, about 2 miles from where his car was discovered. The coroner ruled Jelani's death a drowning, but Miss Day says there is one thing she's certain of.
He did not do nothing to himself. It's foul play, absolutely. None of this makes sense.
Miss Day tells me the delays in her son's case have been unacceptable. In particular, the delay in accessing her son's phone.
The FBI has the phone and they can unlock it. His radio from his car, they believe that it can tell where the car was. They claim that this radio is in Quantico, but it's on a 2-year backlog.
The ABC7i team asked the FBI about these pieces of evidence, but the agency says it can't comment on active investigations. And for the first time, the ABC7i team is getting an exclusive look at a key piece of evidence in this investigation. That's Jelani Day's car. Police also told Miss Day the car had been sitting outside for the last 3 weeks.
This is where they said they had no room to store Jelani's car. This is the secure area where Jelani's car should be at.
The Peru Police Department wouldn't tell the I-Team why Jelani's car is currently outside and would not speak with us on camera, but they did give us a statement on behalf of the Jelani Day Joint Task Force, saying in part, quote, "Complex death investigations take time to thoroughly investigate, and the Jelani Day Joint Task Force is employing all available investigative techniques to bring this case to a resolution as soon as possible. The task force continues to solicit tips from the public, and the $10,000 reward for substantial information regarding Day's final hours remains active." Ms. Day says she will not grow weary and that she owes it to Jelani to keep going.
That I love him. I just want him to be proud of me. I want him to know that I'm not going to let people forget him and that I'm going to find out what happened to him.
The FBI is still taking tips on Jelani Day's case. If you have any information, you can dial 1-800-CALL-FBI.
This week, we mark a somber Central Illinois anniversary, the disappearance of Illinois State University graduate student Jelani Day. He was reported missing in Bloomington and later found dead a month later in LaSalle County.
So what happened to Jelani Day? WMBD's Austin Schick now with a closer look at where the investigation into his death stands today and how Jelani's death has led to changes in Illinois law.
1 year after his disappearance and subsequent death, the family, many in Bloomington and nationwide, are still wondering what exactly happened to ISU grad student Jelani Day. This investigation 1 year later still has many questions unanswered.
Research shows that unfortunately, African Americans who are victims of crime, those crimes often go unaddressed and unsolved.
This young man is gone. All of that potential, all of that life that he had.
The 25-year-old Day was studying to be a doctor and working towards a master's degree at Illinois State University and was last seen alive entering the Beyond Hello cannabis dispensary in Bloomington August 24th. 1 day later, Jelani was reported missing. And after connecting the dots, police recovered Day's vehicle in LaSalle County. And on September 4th, authorities found a body in the Illinois River. But it took nearly 3 more weeks to identify just who it was, Jelani Day.
We think it's a long time coming for you to have a body and can't make a determination. Then you need to move it on. It shouldn't be 20 days later that now you identify.
Lawmakers in Springfield were listening. This spring, lawmakers passed and Governor Pritzker signed the Jelani Day bill.
This is a very tragic situation, and I think the legislature tried to respond to just the needs of the family.
The Jelani Day bill, co-sponsored by State Senator Dave Kaler, requires county coroners to turn over an unidentified body to the FBI if it's been over 72 hours.
I think the FBI has certainly vast resources and a database that can help, whether it's DNA, whether it's fingerprinting, whatever it might be.
In October, LaSalle County's coroner ruled Day's cause of death as drowning, but even now, not everybody is convinced.
I think that the men followed him, and somebody knows something we don't know. And the policemen, they had dead tracks that let them off the hook.
Jelani Day's story capturing the attention of a civil rights icon, Rainbow Push Coalition founder Reverend Jesse Jackson. Jackson's group holding marches for justice in Peru and Bloomington Normal last year.
Justice for Jelani! Justice for Jelani! He went to where they found his clothes, his body was a mile and a half up the river. It was awful. And then they defaced him. It was like a real immature type situation.
But the mystery that lingers, how did he get to LaSalle County in the first place? One of the few clues, his cell phone, found off I-55 near Bloomington.
If you know something, you must be courageous enough to say something and to do something, because Mr. Jelani Day's life was certainly worth it.
We asked investigating law enforcement agencies for updates on how their investigation is progressing. Are you able to say anything about Jelani Day investigation or?
Yeah, I've got nothing for you on that, sorry. That's all in the hands of the FBI right now. So, yeah.
From the FBI, this comment, quote, Department of Justice policy prohibits the FBI from commenting on active investigations, end quote. The FBI Chicago office tells me the investigation into Day's death is still active and tips are still being taken. You can submit a tip at 1-800-CALL-FBI. That number is on the bottom of your screen.
And this is part one of our three-part special report.
And tomorrow night, I'm sitting down with Jelani Day's mother, Carmen Bolden Day. She's showing us her heartbreak that she's experienced over the last year, with still not knowing exactly what happened to her son 1 year later.
It marks 1 year since Illinois State University grad student Jelani Day was last seen. To this day, no arrests have been made. Fox Illinois' David Pierce is working for you to share the frustrations of Jelani's mother.
Authorities have no update as to what happened to Jelani Day. His mother is in disbelief that there's no progress in the case, especially since authorities recovered his body, phone, and his car. The investigation into Jelani Day's disappearance has unfolded over the past year. He was last seen on August 24th, 2021. His body was found in the Illinois River in Peru, Illinois on September 4th, 2021, and his body was identified nearly 3 weeks later on September 23rd. In the midst of that, his cell phone and 2010 Chrysler 300 were discovered as well. FBI Chicago is now overseeing the case, and his mother, Carmen Bolden Day, finds it suspicious authorities have no answers.
Apple can't help me. The cameras can't help me. Nobody is helping me. So to me, that's unfair. We were treated unfairly.
Throughout the investigation, she says Peru PD officers spent too much time asking questions about who Jelani was rather than what happened to him.
They stereotyped my son. They stereotyped him by his car. They stereotyped him by the place that he lived. They didn't try to find him. They were trying to figure out what things they could find out about him instead of finding him.
Bolden visited Peru's police department last week. While there, she went live on Facebook showing his car and saying police didn't examine it as promised.
They didn't have the key. We had to shimmy his car because now the key doesn't work. The battery is dead for some reason, I don't know. But there's stuff all in Jelani's car. Nothing is tagged.
She finds it frustrating.
So somebody had to be going in and out of his car, right? There should be protocol is evidence tape should be on there each and every time, dated and initialed, right? Not so, not in this case.
I brought these claims to Peru Police Department and they declined an interview, but provided this statement saying, quote, Complex death investigations take time, and our task force is using techniques to bring this case to a resolution as soon as possible. Bolden says that's not good enough.
Reflection shows me that they do piss poor police work.
I reached out to the FBI office in Chicago who is overseeing Jelani's case, and they declined to comment as well.
First tonight, Wednesday marked 1 year since 25-year-old Illinois State University graduate student Jelani Day disappeared. His body ultimately found in the Illinois River.
And now in part 3 of our 3-part special report, his mother, Carmen Bolden Day, is sharing the mistakes she says investigators have admitted to making in Jelani's case, the disparities in treatment when it comes to cases of missing people of color, and the nationwide changes she's pushing for.
To not know where your child is a pain that I can't even describe for you.
Carmen Bolden Day wrestles with the reality that she will never see her 25-year-old son, Jelani Day, ever again after he disappeared last August and was mysteriously found dead in the Illinois River.
Nobody can convince me Jelani did this to himself.
Another level of pain hits as 1 year later, Carmen is no closer to finding out what happened to the Illinois State University graduate student.
It's the same set of eyes doing the same set of things, so I'm going to get the same results.
She blames investigators, saying they've overlooked critical surveillance footage that she found, delayed following up on leads, and didn't dedicate enough manpower for her son's investigation.
A whole month done passed. They didn't conduct a search party. Every search party that happened, I did that when they found the car, and we stood in that parking lot that night or that early morning. And I asked them, well, what are we going to do next? Are we going to look in the water? Where are we going to go? And Detective Paul Jones from Bloomington told me, Carmen, we don't believe that Jelani's in Peru.
But that is exactly where Jelani's body was ultimately found.
He works for the Attorney General's office. And he said to me, Carmen, we've made mistakes. The police agency made mistakes. What can we tell you besides that we're sorry that we made mistakes?
The LaSalle County Sheriff's Office, Peru Police Department, LaSalle Police Department, Bloomington Police Department, Illinois State Police, LaSalle County Coroner's Office, the FBI, and Illinois Attorney General's Office have all had a hand in Jelani Day's investigation as part of the Jelani Day Task Force.
They volunteered to do this work, to protect and serve. They did me a disservice. They didn't serve me. They didn't serve my family. And now all you want to do is tell me that you made a mistake? How do I know that mistake, that at some point Jelani was not alive, but because of your mistake, we didn't find him?
Beyond the mystery of Jelani Day's death, his story also opening up another important conversation: the treatment of missing persons cases when it comes to people of color.
When the police sat there and told me, Miss Day, we've asked around and we can't find anything bad about your son. Why are you even looking for something bad? Why are you not looking for something bad and you're not looking for him? Do you think that that's what they did when Gabby was missing? Did they look for something bad on her, or did they just go looking for her?
Carmen reflects on Gabby Petito, the 22-year-old woman from New York who also went missing around the same time as Jelani. But her disappearance almost immediately launched a nationwide investigation with federal resources.
My son was important too. And at first I didn't want to make it about race because I was like, I just want you to find Jelani. But every time I sat there, every time I try to talk to somebody, and I'm looking at this girl and I'm seeing her family, her mom is out there pleading. I feel so sorry for her mom because I know what her mom is going through. But help me too.
It's a disparity in treatment that Carmen says she also saw unfold when she was trying to get media coverage for Jelani's case.
And when I was talking to one of the news people, she told me, well, maybe it's because Jelani doesn't have an active social media account and Gabby was a blogger. I said, so you think that makes a difference as to why nobody's paying attention? That's why you didn't pay attention to my child? Because you couldn't find him on social media?
But Carmen says as difficult as the loss of Jelani has been, she's finding purpose in her pain.
And if I have to be the one to shine the light on, say, you guys have to look at this, because people of color are not getting the same attention as non-people of color when their people are missing. And that's not right.
Carmen is now preparing to launch the Jelani Day Foundation, an avenue to raise money for families of missing children who have to miss work but still pay bills and possibly travel as part of their investigations. The foundation also serves as a way to connect those families with media and legal resources.
I just want to be able to help somebody in their time of need, because people helped me, and I want to be able to extend that back to somebody.
Carmen clings to precious photos and videos of Jelani to manage her pain. And while life will never be the same for the Day family, she's finding the strength to push forward.
He would always tell me that he was proud of me, and I just want him to know that I'm so proud of him. That's what I'm doing all this for.
And we are told the FBI has taken on Jelani Day's case. They tell us they won't comment on pending investigations.
The mystery surrounding the death of Jelani Day is growing. Authorities still searching for answers after the 25-year-old grad student's body was found floating in the Illinois River. Day's family says they suspect foul play, and they still are looking for answers. We're going to talk to Jelani's mother, Carmen, in just a moment. But first, Alex Perez with what we know so far.
A growing mystery surrounding the death of Illinois State University grad student Jelani Day. Day, who was studying to be a doctor, was living and going to school in Bloomington, Illinois. He was last seen on campus August 24th. 2 days later, his car found an hour north in the town of Peru. A week after that, his body found floating in the Illinois River. The Day family's attorney says loved ones suspect foul play.
The wallet was found in a different area. The lanyard, which had his school ID on it, was not found with the wallet. It was found in a different area.
Authorities so far only calling the circumstances surrounding the disappearance unusual.
The way his vehicle was, it was off of a parking lot. That's very unusual to just find a car like that.
Investigators now working to retrace Day's final movements. The 25-year-old's death has garnered the attention of Viola Davis, Lizzo, and other celebrities.
Thank you so much to our Alex Perez for that report and the latest on where it stands. Now, with the recent rise of attention to missing persons cases, it's important to note that as of December 2020, the FBI had more than 89,000 active missing persons cases. 45% of those cases are people of color. I'd like to bring in Jelani's mom now, Carmen, for more on the search to find out what exactly happened to her son. Carmen, I know this is still a very tough time for you, and we really appreciate you being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me this morning.
So at this moment, what do you want our viewers to know about your son's case?
At this moment, my son's case is open. As of September 23rd, I did request for the Illinois State Police to take over. I do know that they are working with Peru and Bloomington and LaSalle County Police Departments. I also know that the Behavioral Analysis Unit from the FBI is involved. I don't know how that part of it works. From what I understand, they are analyzing Jelani. I don't understand that really, but whatever it takes to find out what happened to him, that's what I want them to do. I want them to use their tools and their resources so that we can find out what happened to Jelani, because he did not disappear in midair.
Right, and Carmen, as you know, investigators have said, and they suspect foul play. Do you think you know who the killer may be?
Well, investigators never said they suspect the foul play. I had to let them know that there was some foul play, because they tried to set up this narrative that Jelani could have possibly parked his car in this wooded area, walked himself to this riverbank, took off his clothes and put himself in the water. That's absolutely false. My son was a swimmer. He knew how to swim. He would not commit suicide. His faith in God was too much, and he knew from what we were taught in our religion that suicide automatically takes you to hell. So Jelani wouldn't have done any of that. So it was me who had to make sure they understood that there was foul play involved, because they wanted to just pass it off and give me some type of inclination that this is what Jelani did to himself, and he did not.
Well, this is why Jelani was an aspiring doctor and such an amazing young man, because of a mom like you, clearly strong, brave, and doing everything she can for her son. And you know, Carmen, his death has garnered the attention of so many people and celebrities like Viola Davis and Lizzo. Has that helped you with this case, just getting it in the public eye with people like this and this type of platform? Has it made a difference for you?
What it's done for me has shown me that people, no matter their celebrity status, have looked at my son and known that he is a person that needed to be found. He needed to receive help. And these people felt, I guess, my pain and wanted to help me. So that means a lot to me. It's been other celebrities that have also reached out to us that were not even mentioned. Offset has offered to pay for Jelani's funeral services, and I'm so grateful that these celebrities think enough of my son to want to spread the word and spread awareness about him, but to also want to show love and generosity and kindness toward him, and he's not even here. So Jelani was not only somebody that you would have loved to know in his natural physical life, but I will make sure that the world knows him in his absence, because Jelani was somebody, and he's going to be treated like somebody. You know, we didn't get the treatment that we deserved on set, but I thank God for my children who they knew they wanted their brother back, and they just went through anything that we had to do by any means necessary to do what we needed to do to make sure that Jelani was found and that we got the help that we were looking for.
Well, I know you are going to figure out to the very end what happened, and I hope we are there to bring about the entire truth. Carmen, you're an amazing mom. Your kids are lucky to have you. Thank you so much for just getting up early for us this morning.
Because of the time that has lapsed, I have lost complete faith in you and your police chief. Neither of you take my son's death seriously.
And that's where we begin tonight. There are renewed calls for action in the Jelani Day case.
Tonight, Jelani Day's family spoke to Peru city officials, including their newly appointed police chief, Sarah Raymond, regarding their efforts in that investigation.
Our Brianna Rittman attended tonight's meeting, and she joins us live with a look at what Jelani's mother had to say. Brianna?
Mark, Shelby, tonight Jelani Day's mother, Carmen Bolden Day, demanding answers from Peru city officials. Bolden Day says Peru Police Chief Sarah Raymond has been her point of contact since the Jelani Day Joint Task Force was formed, but has failed to provide weekly updates in Jelani's case. Jelani Day was the Illinois State University graduate student who was last seen alive in Bloomington in August 2021. He was found dead in the Illinois River a few days later. However, his body wasn't identified by the LaSalle County coroner until another few weeks. The coroner ruled his death a drowning, but the family believes more heinous conduct was involved. Tonight, Bolden Day called out Mayor Ken Kolowski and the council for what she describes as enabling the behavior of the police department.
I ask you tonight, have you enabled the lack of accountability? Have you looked into this case yourselves? What questions have you raised to the Peru Police Department? What accountability meetings have you set up? Do you know the details of this case? Have you asked questions about what is being done?
Bolden Day says she is grateful for the support that she has, but she cannot rest until she knows what happened to Jelani.
To begin tonight, a painted poster honoring the once missing Illinois State University student Jelani Day put up in Uptown Normal sometime this week, but it's since been removed by the town. Our own Liam Donahue shows us why it was taken down, the plans for it moving forward, and why some are unhappy with the decision.
The town of Normal is looking to find a more permanent home for a painting of Jelani Day that was posted next to the Uptown Normal mural. The painted poster was put up on the side of 104 East Beaufort within the past few days by an artist that reportedly wishes to remain anonymous. The town of Normal has since removed the painted poster and put it in storage, as it is in violation of town code. They plan to give it to Illinois State University in hopes of finding a permanent home for the painted poster.
We've taken it down and preserved it as respectfully as we can, with the intention of getting it to Illinois State University if they were to have a memorial or someplace on campus where people can visit and pay tribute.
She says the painted poster was not approved by anyone with the town, but they understand it is important to the community.
It was posted without any prior authorization, and it does violate code. Again, we recognize that this is an expression of grief over a very tragic situation.
ISU student Gavin Cunningham says he understands the painted poster was in violation of town code, but says the town could have made an exception.
The town's aware of how much this mural that was painted meant up. On the sign that they say, they even talk about how they understand this is a time of grieving, processing for this town and for this community. The town very much could have just left it up.
Eric Jomey, Director of Media Relations for ISU, says they will work with the town of Normal to take possession of the painted poster and are working on a vigil or memorial service for Jelani Day on the campus of Illinois State University.
Investigating what led up to the discovery of this young graduate student's body more than 60 miles from his campus, found in a river in a city his family says was completely foreign to him. His family tells the I-Team they will not rest until they know exactly what happened to Jelani Day.
This area is where they drove in.
This wooded area in the small town of Peru, Illinois, has become all too familiar to Jelani Day's mother, Carmen.
This trail here, somebody drove through here.
Right here, police found the one concrete clue in his disappearance, her son's car with the license plates removed.
My kids didn't come to Peru for nothing. Never was raised anywhere near here, don't know anyone here, and Jelani would not have known to come and park his car in this wooded area.
The distance between where Jelani's car was found to where his body was found is another puzzling part of this mystery. From this spot, the I-Team had to drive nearly 2 miles to the Illinois River, where investigators located Day's body. His mom says none of this makes sense.
How are you coping with all of this right now?
I've had to grieve while working and trying to find answers.
The search for answers leads back to the Illinois State University campus. August 25th, one of Day's professors reports he didn't show up to class and he wasn't picking up his phone.
I didn't get any text messages back because usually that's our thing. He'll call me right back. That's the moment when I said something is wrong.
Investigators say Day was last seen on campus the day before, August 24th, at around 7:20 a.m. at the Student Center. And that same day at 9:12 a.m., this is the last known image of Jelani. He was spotted on surveillance video at a cannabis dispensary in Bloomington.
Our detectives were looking through electronic data, and this was really the last location that we had. Anything that's connected to, say, electricity or cell phone tower is something that we, the police, can look into.
But as for how his car got from here to Peru, Illinois, which is 60 miles north, that remains a mystery.
Right in here.
From where Jelani's car was located, we noticed a trail that leads to a nearby road.
I guarantee you my son didn't drive himself here. Whoever brought Jelani here, they were very familiar with this area.
Earlier this week, the LaSalle County coroner said Day's cause of death is drowning because he was found in the river and that there was no evidence of injury to the body. Day's mother is adamant. Anyone in the community who believes Jelani did this to himself is wrong.
Number one, Jelani knew how to swim. For them to imply that Jelani drove his car into this space, took it all the way over there, parked it, removed his license plate, then walked to where they're saying that his body was found 1.5 miles away from here, and took off his shoes, his socks, and his shorts, and put himself in this water. Doesn't even make sense.
Day's mom says the license plates to her son's car and his phone still haven't been found. The family tells me they're demanding answers and justice.
I know that Jelani knows that no matter what he was doing, whenever he needed me, I was there. So I know now that he knows that I am going to be there and I'm going to find out what happened to him.
Now, the police departments on this case tell the I-Team they are working tirelessly to find out what happened to Jelani and are dedicated to providing the family with answers. But Jelani's mother tells me she feels she has received limited assistance from local and state officials and is initiating a third independent autopsy. She is pleading with the Illinois Attorney General and the FBI to take over this case and help her find out what happened to her son. As you can imagine, the family is absolutely heartbroken. The coroner's office told me a body that they recovered from the Illinois River is Jelani Day. Now his family is demanding answers about what exactly happened. The Danville native, Jelani Day, was a graduate student at Illinois State University studying speech pathology. His goal was to become a doctor. On August 24th, a professor reported him missing after he didn't show up for a meeting they had scheduled. Bloomington police said his cause of death is unknown at the time, pending further investigation.
We didn't stop investigating it when we found the body, and we're not going to stop until, the case is done. So if we still get tips that come in, Detective Jones will still go through that.
After seeing the resources put into the investigation into Gabby Petito's death, family and community members wanted more work put into solving Day's disappearance. Yesterday, Day's mother, Carmen, told me she was desperate to find her son and get answers about his case.
He's educated. He's a productive citizen. And I can't get nobody to look for my son to provide us with those same resources, with that same help. And that's all I'm asking for.
Investigators discovered a body in the Illinois River near Peru, Illinois on September 4th. But it took until today, through forensic dental identification and DNA testing, for the LaSalle County Coroner's Office to confirm it to be Jelani Day. Day's cousin, Ariel Day, lives in Chicago, and she says he came to visit family and friends in the city just 2 days before he went missing. She says nothing about his disappearance or discovery makes sense.
His dad actually has cancer, and Jelani is the bone marrow match for his dad. He loved his dad. He would come here in Chicago and visit him at Northwestern Hospital, sit with him, encourage him, pray with him. My message to anyone watching this, if you have loved ones and you have a brother, a nephew, a sister, a daughter, you don't know how this feels, but you could only imagine. If you see Jelani, if you hear any news, if anyone comes to you with any type of lead, call the police immediately.
A somber day for the family, especially his mother, who had dedicated the last 30 days to finding her beloved son.
I love you so very much and I miss you. I love you, Jelani.
Absolutely heartbreaking. I did just get off the phone with the family a few minutes ago. They tell me that now is the time that they need answers. They want the public's help, your help, to help find out what exactly happened to Jelani Day.
I believe everybody's got the release. I can read it to you if you'd like, but I think more or less the best way to do this is if you've got questions one at a time. I'm sure some of them will overlap. I'll answer them the best as I can. Most of my questions or most of the answers that I'm going to give are kind of Bloomington police related and focused on that. I can maybe give some info from other organizations, what they're going to do, but most of this
interview will deal with, the Bloomington Police Department. So this is kind of the opportunity for, everybody. This isn't the only one, but this is hopefully the opportunity for, everybody to kind of get their questions in. You can start with your first question. Austin, you can start since you're literally like the largest on my screen.
Okay. What can you tell us about the investigation? What did you find that led this, from the Bloomington Police Department's end of things? What did you find from tips, investigation, and that led you to this discovery?
So, I mean, first, and really this is kind of, I guess I should have started off with this. It's important, especially with all these questions and responses I'm going to give the support to the Day family. So again, I don't want a lot of questions. I'm not going to try to speculate anything. But number one, to everybody, I guess, be respectful, including myself, to the Day family, the grieving process that they're going through. With that being said, it's been an investigation. I'd say the bulk of it was done between the day that it was assigned to our detective. And I'd say in the day that, that body was located, I wouldn't say that we pulled our foot off the gas or anything. But, Detective Paul Jones has been doing a great job. He's been investigating it from day one, the best of his ability. There's some times where he might have been overwhelmed, but we had other detectives to help him out. We've had several meetings at the police department, including myself, our CID lieutenant, the sergeants, on, just kind of a roundtable, what needs to be done. They'll dish out things to different detectives who also have other cases. But, we did the best of our ability here, and, Detective Jones did a great job.
Hi, this is Janine Donaldson from Black News Channel. I wanted to know, you guys obviously found the body on September 4th, and then, during this time of work to identify it. Through that process, have you guys learned anything about why he was there? Maybe any of the circumstances surrounding his death, how it happened?
So I guess the easiest way is we're still seeking those. I mean, I would say that our investigation is not complete. And I know the LaSalle County, Sheriff's Office investigation is not complete. So it's kind of hard to answer that question because it's still ongoing. And I guess I can answer a better question for you. If you give me another question, I might be able to answer it a little bit better for you.
I guess just kind of analyzing the situation of where he was found, how he was found, has it given you any clues as to how he got there, why he was there, or how he died?
Really, the circumstances at this point, we have some information that we haven't released, and right now we're not going to release it. And I know that's kind of in a connection with the LaSalle County Sheriff's Office investigation. Really, I mean, since it's an active investigation, there's not a lot of new information that we're going to release. Of course, we know more now today and a few weeks ago than we did, when we got the case. But there's information that we haven't released that if there is, I mean, right now we've got and actually we're still investigating our missing person case. And we're going to work with LaSalle County Sheriff's Office, but there's still a death investigation going on. So we can't really go over a lot of details or anything like that, just because there still is a death investigation going on.
So at this point, it's not being investigated as a homicide?
Well, I tried to, you may or may not have been here. The LaSalle County Sheriff's Office is the one with that death investigation. I can't really give you a good answer on that. What I can tell you from, our part of the investigation, that if there was some sort of, we can all agree that it was very suspicious, unlike him. It's just one of those of, is it foul play or not? And that's kind of what the LaSalle County Sheriff's Office is their main focus. Is it a homicide investigation or is it a death investigation? And, over time, that's where we're going to get that answer.
Is there Katrina Peterson from Cities 92.9. Is there any evidence in his car that leads you to believe someone was in there with him?
Like I said, it's an active investigation. Any specific information, we're not going to release. Again, those are just tough ones. It's still active. LaSalle County Sheriff's Office has a death investigation that could turn into a homicide investigation, or it could not. I mean, right now it's still an active investigation, and that kind of details. I can speak for them that they're probably not going to release, especially at this point right now.
John, at what point, this is Eric Stock, WGLT, at what point did the FBI get involved in this investigation, and what triggered their involvement?
I can tell you, I can't tell you much. I could tell you we've had discussions and communications, I think over the last few weeks, including today. So it's there. I mean, we've worked with a ton of organizations. I don't want to name them all just because I don't want to forget one. But the Illinois State Police was involved, LaSalle County Sheriff's Office, LaSalle County Coroner's Office, the Peru Police Department. There were several search and rescue teams. We've kind of communicated with just about anybody that can help us and are willing to help. We've had a lot of people reach out. Fortunately for us, we have, we've got a cyber crimes unit. I think we've released it before. We did do a lot of digital evidence. Luckily, we have detectives, in the police department that can go through that data, extract the data, after search warrant subpoenas. So we're lucky, we have those resources here. And if we don't have a resource or some sort of knowledge, we're not too proud to reach out. I could tell you that. Can't really tell you details on everything, of course, but our department's a great department, but sometimes if we need some expertise or we need some help or hey, we've got an idea, sometimes it's good to just, discuss it with another organization. But it's just hard to nail down. I know you may want a specific, hey, they got involved on this date. I have no idea. I can just tell you that we've discussed things with them. And they've been more than willing to help throughout the investigation.
Officer Furman, Shelby Roberts with WMBD TV in Peoria. Just wanted to follow up to see, was Jelani's family at all involved in the identification process? Obviously, the body was found earlier this month, but there was a window of time. What was that process like?
I don't know if I'm the best one to answer that. I would say that's more or less the coroner's office. From our release, sorry, I thought I had it over here. The coroner's office identified Jelani by dental records. And I don't really have much else I can say about that since that more or less from the coroner's office. Sorry, that's just not really one I can answer for you.
This is Officer Furman. This is Omar Jimenez with CNN. I saw in the release that you had done some searches in the immediate aftermath of finding the car and the proximity of that vehicle. And then there were additional searches that were done after, and then especially on September 4th. For the September 4th one in particular, when you found the body, was there any new information that prompted a search back in that area, since it seems like you had already sort of swept that area before?
That's a good question. It's going to be a simple answer. Yes, we had a little bit more information. It's very difficult to search just a one, imagine searching an entire city is difficult. But we got some information to give us that second search. It took, I think, maybe a day, and it was a extremely professional and organized search, with trained professionals that conducted that search. And then I know there's a couple search and rescue teams up in that LaSalle, Peru area, just because that Starved Rock area has a lot of missing people. So we also were fortunate that, just an hour north, they've had these professional search teams.
Hi, this is Brendan Dennis with the Panagraph. On that note, can you mention any of the other search teams that were involved? I know you mentioned the Illinois Search and Rescue Council, but do you have any other names that were helpful with finding the body here?
I know the Utica Fire Department, and I believe it was a Peru Fire Department, and there was one other search and rescue team that was there. I don't know if it was a volunteer or not. But I believe on one of those releases, we put that out, or I told somebody about it, but that Search and Rescue Council, they've got a website. It's pretty impressive. I know Detective Jones, when he was up there during that search, they're even I was impressed, as a law enforcement officer, you think you've seen it or heard it all, I guess. But if you kind of see what their techniques are and what they did, it's pretty impressive on how they track it and how they organize it. So we're lucky that those resources were available to us.
Officer Furman, Russ Widener, ABC in Chicago. How does the discovery or the identification of the body as Jelani Day change your investigation, if so?
I would say that there's a connection, of course, that we can confirm through working with LaSalle County Sheriff's Office, but it doesn't change anything on our end. We don't, like I said before, we didn't stop investigating it when we found the body, and we're not going to stop until, the case is done. So if we still get tips that come in, Detective Jones will still go through that. If the tips continue to come in and there's 50 tips in one day, another detective will help him out. But this just isn't one that, since his body was located, we've just stopped. That's just not how, law enforcement works. And that's not how we work. We're still going to investigate, especially the circumstances around it. And we're going to work with LaSalle County Sheriff's Office to see if anything that we learn or they learn can help us both out in the investigation.
Hi, this is Janine from Black News Channel again. Wanted to ask you, at this time, is there any reason to believe that other students at the university should be concerned, should be on alert? Any reason to believe that this is all kind of connected and other students could possibly be targets of any sort?
And those are always, I'd say those are great questions. Those are hard questions to answer just because, I can't tell the future, of course. I know at ISU, they were on high alert. Not saying, like I've said, we haven't said if there's foul play, we haven't said anything like that, but everybody's on edge, especially at ISU. An ISU grad student goes missing. I went to ISU, it impacts everybody. It impacts everybody when they're walking down the street. And you're right. I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, one of the girls at ISU reported just some suspicious activity, and it just has everybody on high alert. Are there any specific dangers or anything like that that we can, notify ISU PD or the university of specific steps to take? No. But of course, always be vigilant, always pay attention to your surroundings. I even know ISU PD and they've got an organization, or ISU's got an organization that you can text or call and they'll give you a ride. It's like a safety patrol. So, I can highlight one of their programs. I'm going to do it, especially right now, because that's for the safety of any student. If you're feeling unsafe, that's a great tool that you can use.
Also, Janine from BNC again, there is a case with similar situations, I guess, happening in Buckeye, Arizona. Young Black man missing, car found in an area that was rough terrain. Have you guys been in contact with the authorities down there to see if there's any kind of a relation or any similarities in the case that you here are investigating?
And I don't know, again, I might not be the best one. I've never been a detective. I know I've heard of it, and I know our detectives will hear of it. And if that's something that, and maybe they've already done it, maybe there are similarities, maybe there aren't. But that's definitely something that can be looked into pretty easily. They are pretty similar. I think I just read about the story yesterday. But I can't really give you a good answer just because I'm not, a detective with our department or LaSalle County. And I guess shame on me for really not asking ahead of time.
Hi, I'm Bryce Beeman with WCIA. I know you may not be able to say this as it might mess with the investigation or anything, but you may not, and also may not be able to name names, but do you have any people of interest that you're looking at possibly, or any, people that you're kind of looking into for this? I know it's still a death investigation, but just curious about that.
Yeah. And then
Normal, I mean, that's an appropriate question. If the case was closed, and there was no more investigation, that's probably something that, LaSalle County or we could answer. But really, it's still an active investigation on both of our departments. So I can't even, give you any hints or really answer the question for you, since it is an active investigation.
Do you feel at all, Janine from BNC, do you feel at all, since this has really enveloped the community, the search for Jelani and all of the efforts, do you feel like this gives the community any closure, or do you feel that there needs to be more details before the community can feel safe and get the closure that they're looking for?
That's a good, tough question to answer. Number one, I think it gives the family some closure. I couldn't put myself in their shoes. It was just tough. I'd want to know the answers, good or bad, and start the grieving process. So I think it's good in that aspect that, his body was identified. Of course, nobody ever wants to go through that as a parent. But, you have some closures where, where I grew up, a missing person was, missing for 5 years till they located his body. And that's just something that's tough. I mean, it's tough all around, but it brings some closure. We get some details out there. But again, it's just a terrible situation all the way around. Again, I couldn't put myself in their shoes, feeling how they would feel. So I know it's improper saying it's good that we were able to identify his body, but I think it brings some closure and helps them, it helps the entire family get some answers. I know I was waiting for some answers too, and I know that they will be as well.
Hey, Sheridan Spotham with 25 News. Quick question. Can you go into a little bit how or why it took so long for the DNA test results to come back and why you're still not releasing the cause of death?
So I can give you a pretty simple answer. We're not the coroner's office. I know and I've explained the process and I'm fine with explaining it. We've pretty much had two separate investigations. Of course, we were working with Peru, LaSalle, Peru agencies up there. But when the body was recovered, that was basically recovered by the LaSalle County Coroner's Office, who performed an autopsy, I think the next day. And that's those results, the testing, all that process really comes from the coroner's office, from people a lot, the doctors that go through that process. So it'd be improper for me to even speculate or tell you any more information than what's been released. I'm probably not the best person to answer that. I know that the DNA testing was an issue, just getting it through. And it's just hard for me to answer that just because I'm really not involved with that process.
Sorry, quick follow-up. So when you say it was an issue, are you referring to like some of the backlog issues that we've seen in the past? Just, it takes time to get these things through?
I think that the coroner up there, which again, I'm not the best source for it, said the state police crime lab, of course there is a backlog there, made phone calls and things like that. But I think they ran out of a testing agent or something like that from what I read. Again, I'm hearing that third party. I've read it in some articles, and that it seems to match up. But again, I'm not the best person to answer that question or to give you a good answer on that.
You guys have gotten, sorry, Janine BNC. I know you guys have gotten some heat over the investigation in today's case and it being compared to the search efforts for Gabby Petito. How do you respond to the allegations that these cases were not treated the same and not given?
For some reason, I think you got muted.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, there you go.
How do you respond to the allegations that these two cases were not given the same kind of scope and attention?
Well, it's a tough way to answer that. Coming from the family, I'm not going to disagree with really anything, how they're feeling. Like I said, if I were in their shoes, how would I feel? What would I feel? And I'm not going to disagree with any of that. The other part is I'm happy that this got the attention it did. I mean, we've got, I don't know how many, 50 something people from, across America talking about this case, getting the word out. Unfortunately, a lot of our high risk missing persons just here in the city don't get the attention that it deserves either. So, I'm happy that this got out there. We'll take the criticism. Part of our job is to, I wouldn't say, a part of our job isn't to release all the details. Just because we do have an investigation, it may be something, it may be nothing, but we try to release all the information that we can that would be helpful in locating the missing person without, ruining or tampering with, or, I'd say ruining the investigation down the road. But I wouldn't, it's hard to say that, this didn't get a lot of media attention. This is the biggest media attention thing that, I've done. And I'm happy that it's got this kind of attention, and hopefully this rolls over to, other missing persons, especially that we have here locally, that we can get some attention. We've got missing people that I think one, teenage girls in Chicago or Chicago area. We've got a 16-year-old that we believe may be in Guatemala or somewhere, across America. And I'm happy and ecstatic that a lot of media organizations are starting to pick up on, missing persons, especially high risk missing persons and missing juveniles.
This might be a coroner question, but Katrina Peterson from Cities. The condition of the body, would that rule out homicide?
So that's a good question. I don't know if the coroner released anything about the condition of the body. If they did, sorry, I'm not going to answer that for you. I of course I know, but I'm just not going to talk. That's kind of out of my, standing really to talk about anything about the body, the testing, the process. I probably already talked too much about it, but that's more or less the coroner's, expertise on that.
Officer Furman, back on the investigation of when the body was found. You mentioned there was new information that came in, and we know that there was at least some attention in the beginning on this case, maybe not as much as now. But was that information, did that come from a member of the public, or was that something that you all found, through some sort of analysis on the investigative side?
I wish I had a good specific way to answer that question. I could tell you that the Peru PD was extremely helpful throughout the investigation. We don't have the resources to send 50 officers or even 5 officers up to Peru. They asked for cameras. They were letting their public know, hey, we've got a missing person from Bloomington. The vehicle was found up here. Let us know. We were getting tips in, and that's really as far as I'll get. But we were getting tips in from people around those locations, which gave us, some more information to target, especially those, a larger area, in the Illinois Valley or LaSalle, Peru area. Again, I can't answer the specifics, but yes. And, from the get-go, it got a decent amount of media attention. We especially wanted it to be in Central Illinois. The story, of course, has taken off more the last, few days, but I'd say we got really good media attention. ISU did a great job of spreading the word. The family did a great job spreading the word. He was a beloved person, and people that, touch others in a personal way that are, special people kind of get that kind of reaction. And from everybody that I've talked to or learned about him, he's a special person, which everybody wants to find them. So we're lucky that the story actually exploded as well as it did, which may or may not have led to the tips coming in, but I can tell you more than likely that helped. Just getting the word out helped around there. People want to get involved. The family talking about, the emotions in it, that really gets people involved and gets people wanting. I mean, we've had people
going out of their way, driving a few hours just to kind of walk around to try to help out or do whatever they can. We've had people, email in like, hey, we're here to help, whatever you need to do, let me know. So it's been great that we've kind of got this, news story that's, just kept going and helping us throughout our process.
Do your investigators believe that foul play was involved?
Well, that one's, and I don't know if I answered it, that great. If I probably answered it better, you wouldn't have asked it. So I really can't answer it that well. It is an active investigation. I can tell you that while we were investigating it, we don't really have any specific details that we can release to you. But I can tell you, from the get-go, foul play or not, it's unusual. Most of our policy, really, if somebody goes missing, there's usually a 10-day kind of waiting period because most people, come home, make a phone call. This one just right off the bat was unusual. Do I want to say that, it was foul play is suspected? We don't know. It was just so unusual and somewhat suspicious that it just kind of piqued our interest of, hey, this is not normally how missing persons go. Like I said, only time will really tell. And we really can't give any information more than that. There could be foul play, there could not be, but that's going to be learned more throughout the investigation. And especially now that it is an investigation, that's just not something we release either, any specific details or anything like that.
You mentioned that there are obviously other high risk cases that you guys are investigating, have investigated. What makes some of them rise to this level and others not rise to the same kind of attention and level, leaving many families to feel that their loved ones are not treated the same?
I can always speculate that answer, and I will. If a person, and we'll use Jelani because, he's beloved. I had a friend of mine, because I grew up around the same area, text me and say, hey, how can I help? I don't live in the state. He's a special person. And that's what people wanted to get involved. What's really difficult is where, maybe somebody's an at-risk juvenile, or they could be a ward of the state and they run away. They're 14, 15, 16 years old. They don't have that, family support structure. There's not a whole lot of people that care for them, which is unfortunate. We're still looking for them. We still do a high-risk release, and those are always released. Any high-risk missing person, juvenile or adult, will be released from us. And, sometimes it's as simple as, is it a slow news day or not? If there's a homicide that we have in town and a high-risk missing person, sometimes a high-risk missing person's overlooked. So I know that's kind of the hot topic, and that's kind of a question. And we're looking at, I don't know what happened there. We're looking at ways to make it better. Sorry, somehow it fell. There we go. So and that's one thing that I especially looked at. I mean, that's one, I do almost all the releases for missing persons. One thing that we're going to do is probably quarterly, put a list of, faces and their names and their details, and just try to keep it in the news. If a news station wants to pick it up, they can. If they don't, they don't. But at least, we've got a large social media following that we can at least get the word out again. I think a lot of people, including, law enforcement, media, are kind of looking at ways that they can be better. And that's kind of one specific way that we can address one of these issues and making sure nobody falls through the cracks, no matter, if they're a beloved person, or, if nobody, I don't want to say nobody cares about them, but they may feel that way. So that's one thing I think we can do to do better.
I know you guys are doing an in-person at 5 o'clock. Is the family going to be there?
No, if they want to join, that is fine. I know there was a meeting earlier today, but really this is just, I'd say, for the media to communicate with me. I've been pretty much overwhelmed with requests as of late. So this is kind of the the group chance to, talk to us. I know the family's been great at reaching back out, doing interviews. I would say to respectfully maybe reach out to them or give them time. Just because, again, if I were in their shoes, I don't know if emotionally I'd be ready to talk to, any news organization or anything like that. So if you are going to reach out to, the family, just again, try to be respectful. And just try to empathize with them and support them the best you can.
Hey, John, one last question. Sheridan again with 25. And earlier you had said that, the FBI only got involved in the investigation a couple of weeks ago. Is there anything that kind of changed in your investigation, either LaSalle County or in Bloomington, to kind of trigger the FBI's involvement? Do they think there's out-of-state involvement or, activity on his credit cards?
Well, I can tell you a lot of I'll specifically just pick out the digital evidence. I already, empowered our cyber crimes detectives. We've got 2 of them. They do a great job. We didn't really leave any stone unturned with any digital evidence, anything like that. We don't normally, and I won't talk specifics about, electronic data or, any other kind of data mining that we do. We luckily have that in-house. The other part, to really answer your question about the FBI, I think, Jelani was such a great person and had so many great friends that people were reaching out wanting to help. And I don't know the specific conversations of, and I can tell you that I know just from listening to some of the detectives, people were reaching out, law enforcement officers. Like I said, I had friends reach out, hey, how can we help? That's kind of what it's been. We luckily have a lot of good resources that we can use, like our cyber crimes unit. And we've got a crime scene unit. They're full-time. This is kind of what they train for. So a lot of smaller departments may not have the same type of resources that we have. So they have to use, outside agencies. And not to say that we have everything, because we use the state police for a lot of different things. But we're lucky that we have inside resources. But I really can't answer that specific question on, specific conversations about with the FBI. All right, I'll give a couple more minutes if nobody else has any other questions. I know probably a few local places will want to come in at 5, but if you don't have any more questions, I'll give it till about 4:10 for this, and then at 5 o'clock, or if you want to show up, maybe 4:45, we can do an on-camera interview if that's what you like. And then I know some still want to do phone interviews or something for radio stations. I'll probably still stick to about 5:30 for that. And then hopefully we can get everybody's questions answered.
Is this going to be more one-on-ones at 5, or is this going to be more presser style?
No, it'll be just, this is kind of a press conference more style. Really, when we do on-camera interviews, there may be 4 cameras. I know like WEK will be there. WMBD usually comes. And I wouldn't say it's a whole bunch of questions. Usually they just like to have, 30 seconds of a video clip that's not Zoom. But I wouldn't say it's like a press conference. This would be more of a, press information session than if somebody wants, actually wants like an on-camera interview, we'll do that as well.
John, can you say, going back to the FBI investigation or their involvement, when did Bloomington Police originally bring them into it? When was that call first made, or was it LaSalle County that brought them in?
I wish I had an answer for you. I don't. That's the best I can give. I don't know the specific date that we had a discussion or discussions with them. It's just like any other organization. I can tell you who we worked with, but I can't tell you, I can't really even tell you specific, like when we called Peru PD. I'm sure they actually called us, but I can't really give you any good specifics like that. All right. I'll give you, I guess, one more minute. And if anybody's going to come, we'll be here. I'll be in front of the PD at about 5. I'm sure there's a couple. If you're at WMBD or Austin, if you're not going to come, just let me know.
Will there be other agencies with you at that?
Nope. This is, just specifically ours.
I know we were kind of the lead agency. And I don't know, again, I can't speak for LaSalle County Sheriff's Office or the coroner's office or anything like that. I know that press release is kind of what they're doing. But we're always open. We're trying to answer the questions that we can. But right now, that's just, our department, trying to give everybody an update, allow them to ask some questions. Like I said, I've been just overwhelmed with phone calls and emails, so it's usually easier to just answer, everybody in a group setting, just in case, so I don't have to answer kind of the same question over and over. All right. Well, this is a last chance for anybody if they want to stick on. I'm going to get out here soon, or actually, I think our host will probably kick me out. Well, thank you for coming. I'm going to get out of here now.